Now, that's my little Margie. I've been both mother and father to her since she was born. She's grown up now, and you think my job's all done, eh? Well, that's what you think. When she was little, I could spank her and make her mind me. I had control over her. I made her eat her spinach, no candy before meals. And when she disobeyed, I took her roller skates away for a week. But what can you do when a girl reaches this age? She's completely out of hand. I've got a problem, believe me. I've got a problem.
That's my father. I've raised him from childhood. That is, my childhood. He's nearly 50 now, and you'd think he'd settle down, wouldn't you? Well, that's what you think. Today, he looks better in shorts on a tennis court than fellas 25. Girls wink at him, and what's worse, he winks back at them. I want a nice, old, comfortable father. I try to look after him, but he just won't settle down. I've got a problem, believe me, I've got a problem.
I'm very sorry, Mr. Albright.
Please, Mrs. Apperson, won't you reconsider?
No, Mr. Albright. William is not well enough to take on any business venture.
Grandmother knows better than anyone else how ill I am. Mr. Albright.
But on the strength of your grandmother's original expression of interest, I made a commitment.
I'm terribly sorry if, as the masses say, you're in a jam. But William simply cannot join the merger in his condition.
I'll handle everything. William wouldn't have to lift his finger.
But not this weather, William.
Yes, Grandmother.
Mr. Albright, I honestly feel sorry for you. But William's much too ill to have any business problems on his mind. It's 10 o'clock, William.
Oh. I ought to know the AM from the PM side by now.
Maybe you'll feel better in a few days, and then we'll talk business.
I'm afraid not, Mr. Albright. I've been sick all my life.
Come along, William. Turn up your collar, William. There may be a draft in the corridor.
Yes, Grandmother.
Fine. Goodbye, Mr. Albright.
Goodbye, Mr. Albright.
Goodbye. How do you like that?
What's wrong with him?
There's nothing wrong with him except that doting grandmother who spent her whole life trying to tell him he's sick. Why, he's as healthy as I am. Get my daughter on the phone. No, never mind. I'll tell her tonight in person.
Trouble, Mr. Albright?
Anytime I have to tell Margie she can't do something she's planned for weeks, I've got trouble.
No trip to Paris?
I'm sorry, honey, but the trip to Paris was part of the deal, and now there's no deal.
Well, it isn't your fault.
I think it's an outrage. Margie and I want to go to Paris.
How do you ever figure women? I thought Margie would blow her top and you'd take it like a lamb.
Can't you get someone else to go in on the deal?
Mrs. Odette, you don't just walk around the block and pick up $200,000 investors.
We understand, Dad. Take your shower. Dinner will be ready when you're through. Mrs. Odette, I've never seen you like this before.
I've always wanted to see Paris. This was my big chance.
There's no use crying over it. The trip's off.
Margie, all right. I've been your neighbor across the hall for 6 years. You never take a disappointment this way. You're not acting like yourself.
Mrs. Odette, my father doesn't like for me to interfere in his business. And the only way I could do anything about going to Paris would be to interfere. And this is one time I'm not going to butt into my father's business. I just wanted to make sure he'd hear the right things. The coast is clear. Now, what are we going to do about getting to Paris?
Now, this is more like Margie Albright.
What are the facts we've got to go on?
Well, according to your father, this Mr. Apperson is a hypochondriac.
Translation, he isn't really sick, just thinks he is.
A fact confirmed by Mr. Honeywell's doctor, who's also Mr. Apperson's doctor.
It's not much to go on.
Maybe if we met him and let him tell us all about his symptoms, those people just love to talk about what they think's wrong with them.
I'd like to tell him about my illness, sick about not going to Paris. Hey, wait a second.
Are we in business?
Mrs. Odette, I just said maybe I could tell him about my illness. Suppose I really had an illness, lots of illnesses. Suppose Mr. Apperson met somebody who was so
sick, it made him look like the healthiest man in the world. He needs someone that's sicker than he is. Rude about pay, you're as good as walked on.
I hope Dad knew what he was talking about.
He said Mr. Aberson took his constitutional every afternoon at 2.
Here comes our boy. No mistaking him from Dad's description. Okay, let her roll.
You don't look sick enough, honey. Give it a little more. And don't overdo it. You're not supposed to be dead. Now, that's fine.
Oh, Grandma, stop!
What?
I think I'm going to faint.
Oh, dear, oh, dear. Clarice,
Let me help.
oh, thank you. Oh, thank goodness. There's nothing like a big, strong, strapping man in a time of crisis.
I'm a sick man, madam, but in an emergency, I'll always do my best. What's wrong with her?
I'm not sure. At first, I thought it might be one of her heart spells, but this seems to have some of the symptoms of a liver spell.
A liver spell?
Yes. When a body sits in a restaurant and casually orders liver, he has no idea what an important dish he's ordering. Oh, I do hope it isn't a liver spell.
I've never had any trouble with my liver before. I wonder if... Oh, there it goes. I'll have to have it looked into. I've never even considered my liver.
I always say a man who considers his liver knows his onions. Larry, dear, speak to
Grandma, what happened?
She's coming out of it. Everything's going to be all right, dear. You just had a little spell.
You mean to say she has both a heart and liver condition?
My dear friend, I wish that was all. My poor little granddaughter has something wrong with every working part in her body, and none of her working parts work. Why, when she wakes up in the morning, I have to help her open her eyes.
Really? Tell me, young lady, what seems to be wrong with you?
Here's the list.
Oh, please, Grandma. Grandma writes down each new illness.
What's the matter?
The doctor never put my kneecap back on properly.
That's a shame. I sometimes have trouble with my kneecap, too. Both of them.
Oh.
Would you mind pushing her to the bench for me?
Certainly, I think I have the strength.
My name is Clarice Odette, and this is my grandmother, Mrs. Odette. Please call me Clarice.
How do you do, Clarice? I'm William Apperson, but please, just call me William. I wonder if I might have your permission to say something quite personal.
Certainly, William. What is it?
Well, I just wanted to say that I think you're the sickest girl I've ever met. Yes. Tell me, have you ever met any man as unhealthy looking as I am?
Now you can call yourself unhealthy, William. To me, you're the picture of strength and virility.
I am? Really?
Yes. Why, I'll bet you have both kidneys.
As a matter of fact, I have.
Grandmother, he has both kidneys.
Please don't mention kidneys anymore, son. It upsets her so.
You mean to say she lost a kidney?
A week ago, the left one.
I'm so sorry.
That's all right, William.
Something the matter with your arm, too?
Involuntary contraction of the tricep.
Hereditary.
What a pity. Oh, it's nearly time for my physiotherapy treatment. I must be going. Chin up, Clarice.
Thank you, William.
Talking to you is so encouraging. I wonder if I might have permission to see your granddaughter again.
Oh, I think so, young man.
I have your grandmother's permission to ask to see you again.
All right, William. Same time tomorrow, here in the park.
Splendid. Well, bye for now.
Bye, William.
I forgot my cane. For the first time in my life, I forgot my cane. I might have collapsed before I reached home.
A few more of these Chlorisodermics, and he won't bother to come back for his cane.
He'll be so full of get up and go, he'll have to go into business to use up the excess energy.
This is one time my father will have to give little Margie credit. I just can't wait to tell him tonight.
Viva la France!
A deal's a deal.
Oh, that's right. I get to ride home.
Dad?
Yes?
Wait till you hear what I've got to tell you. You'll do handspring.
I'm in no mood for nonsense. I'm completely and thoroughly disgusted.
Okay. Tell me what's wrong, and then I'll bet what I've got to tell you will knock you out.
Well, the way I feel right now, it had better be pretty terrific. It's that William Apperson deal again.
William Apperson? Well, there's one problem I'd positively be unable to do anything about.
His grandmother dropped into the office today. She decided that a little business venture might be just the thing for William.
Oh, she did?
Yeah, she said that she'd been thinking that our deal might make a nice little hobby for William, that it would give him something to take an interest in.
Well, that's what you wanted, wasn't it? What's the trouble?
Well, just as Mrs. Apperson was going home to tell William, William walked in.
Then what?
Oh, he said to forget about the deal. He didn't need a hobby, that he'd found something else to take an interest in.
What did he find?
A girl.
A girl?
Yes, a girl that was sicker than he is. He thinks he's in love with her.
I wonder who she is.
Oh, I don't know, but I wish I had my hands around her neck. Okay, I told you. Now, what is this big thing you want to tell me that would knock me out?
Maybe I overestimated it. I mean, maybe it would work in reverse.
Well, you certainly gave it a big build-up. Now, what is it?
We're having cream dried beef on toast for dinner.
Oh, how did you find us? I mean, what a surprise. We really didn't expect to see you here.
Mrs. Odette, I've fallen in love with your granddaughter. I couldn't wait until 2 o'clock to see Clarice. I looked you up in the directory. Where's Clarice? Oh, she must be in bed.
Yes, she is in bed. Better come back later.
If you don't mind, I'll wait until she wakes up. I've brought her something.
Come in.
Would you mind turning the heat up? I'm going to take off my coat and one sweater. I try to maintain an average body temperature of 99.9.
Of course. If the heat clears up the wallpaper, we can always stick it down.
Thank you.
I'll go see if she's stirring.
Hello?
Only one precinct reporting in, but it's a Lulu. Guess who's in my sitting room waiting to see my granddaughter?
Holy mackerel. If he finds out I'm a fraud, he'll never make a deal with my father.
How are you going to get into my bedroom without being seen?
Through the window.
Oh, dear.
Hold the fort.
Come on, honey. Hurry, hurry.
Okay.
down. Don't look down. Oh. Don't slip. Don't look down. Don't look down.
Slip on?
Yes. Today you got a bad headache, an asthma attack, and sinus complications. Okay?
Okay, grandmother.
Fine. Mr. Appleton, she's awake now. Would you please bring in her wheelchair?
Certainly, Mrs. Odette. Hello, Clarice. How are you today?
Well, Willem, my asthma's acting up again. And I've got a bad migraine headache. And my sinus is acting up.
Oh, well, Clarice, I'm glad it's nothing serious. I've brought you something.
Really, Willem? What is it?
Look inside.
Oh, Willem, you shouldn't have done it.
Anything for you, Clarice.
Willem, a compact. But I never wear makeup.
It isn't a compact. It's a jeweled pill box.
A jewel pill box. Just what I've always wanted.
Look inside.
It's full of pills.
Liver pills.
Oh, well.
Let's get her into the living room, Mr. Appleton.
Thanks for pushing me, Willem.
Clarice, I may be weak of body, but I'm strong of mind, and I'm not going to be bashful about it. Clarice, I'm in love with you.
In love with me? Oh, no, Willem, it cannot be.
What do you mean, Clarice? Why can't it be?
We could never make a go of it. One of us would have to be healthy.
She's right, Mr. Appleton. She needs someone to make up for her weakness.
Clarice, you don't know how much you mean to me. I think I could be healthy with your help. The doctor has told me many times I'm not as sick as my grandmother says. And ever since yesterday, I'm beginning to think he's right.
Really, Willem?
Yes. Last night, I got up when I was sure that my grandmother was asleep, and I actually ran around my bed 3 times.
Don't.
Yes, I didn't die. Grandmother always said I'd die if I ran, and I want to tell you something. I left the house today without my 3 o'clock pills.
Good heavens.
Amazing, Willem. Positively amazing.
Clarice, can't you see that I'm on the way to recovery?
Well, Willem, it's all very encouraging, but...
Excuse me a second. Mr. Albright.
Mr. Albright.
William!
What are you doing here?
I just happen to live across the hall.
Oh, Clarice, I'd like you to meet Mr. Albright.
Holy mackerel! Mrs. Odette, will you tell me I'm not seeing what I'm seeing?
You're not seeing what you're seeing. Goodbye.
Now, will you please tell me what...
Mr. Albright, don't make me talk too much. My asthma, you don't.
Don't get excited, honey. Remember your gallstone incision.
Mr. Albright and I know each other. It's quite a coincidence you're living right across the hall.
I demand to know what...
He demands to know if I'll accept his generous offer to send me to a sanatorium in Arizona.
You're very generous, Mr. Albright. But my little granddaughter, Clarice, cannot accept. She's too proud.
Yes.
Now, see here.
You be quiet a moment. I can finish what I was going to tell Willem. Willem.
Yes, Clarice.
Willem, I couldn't consider even a healthy man unless he was active in business. I don't mean just having money. I mean really being in business.
Well, as a matter of fact, Clarice, I was just about to close a business deal with Mr. Albright. Isn't that right, Mr. Albright?
Yes, but yesterday you
This
said...
time I'm closing it, and I really am, Mr. Albright. I really am.
Well, fine, Mr. Apperson. I'll have the papers ready in the morning. Business is one thing, Mr. Apperson, but may I say, I hope you realize what a wonderful young lady Clarice Odets is.
Oh, yes, Mr. Albright. I know how wonderful she is. I know.
Her name is Margie Albright. Her father is Vern Albright, whose desire to make a deal with you is quite possibly the reason for this masquerade. And the young lady is not ill. In fact, she's quite healthy.
You see, darling, one day out from under Grandmother's protecting wing, and you're being preyed upon. That's why I had her investigated.
I've got to find out more about this. One thing I'll always be indebted to her for. Now I know I'm not really sick.
What?
I give you my word, Mr. Apperson, I didn't know a thing about it. But my daughter wants to go to Paris.
I believe you, Mr. Albright, but wasn't this little gag of your daughter's somewhat on the drastic side?
You call this drastic? She'd have contracted jungle fever if she'd had to.
Mr. Albright, I owe your daughter the rest of my life, and I think it's going to be a healthier and a happier one. But still, Mr. Albright, if you'd permit me, I think I could have some fun for the first time in my life. I'd like to play even Steven and work a little gag on your daughter.
Not too much noise, gentlemen. The poor little thing's had another one of her nervous attacks.
Clarice, dear. Wake up, Clarice.
Oh, William. Hello. Grandma said you were coming.
Mr. Apperson wanted you to know that we made the deal, and now he's a real businessman, just as you wanted.
Oh, wonderful. I'm so happy, William.
Yes, Clarice, and now I've got another surprise for you. You've changed my whole outlook on life. So to repay you, and mind you, I won't take no for an answer, your ticket.
Ticket? Ticket to where?
Arizona.
Arizona?
I've made reservations for you at a beautiful sanitarium, and you'll be there for a whole year. A personal friend of mine will visit you each day to make sure that everything's just as you want it. Excuse me a minute. All right, boys, come on in. Handle her gently, boys. She's a very sick little girl.
Oh. Here.
Your plane ticket.
New York to Paris. I've been took.
I hope I'll get to see you when you and your father and your grandmother get back.
Oh,